He sat nervously at the small cafe table, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted his son's wheelchair beside him. The boy, no older than 8, smiled innocently, unaware of the tension in his father's eyes. It was supposed to be a simple blind date, something his colleagues had forced him into after months of loneliness. But the moment he saw the message flash on his phone, "I'm here, sitting by the window," his stomach tightened. He looked down at his son and whispered softly, "Let's just be ourselves, buddy." He didn't expect the woman he was about to meet to change both their lives forever. The cafe door chimed. A woman in a white coat stepped in, her presence immediately lighting up the room. She carried an air of elegance and quiet confidence, yet her eyes were soft, observant. She scanned the room until her gaze landed on the man and his boy. For a moment, something unreadable flickered across her face. Surprise, curiosity, maybe even pain. He stood up awkwardly, forcing a smile. "Hi, I'm Daniel," he said, motioning toward the empty chair. "And this little guy here is Noah." The woman's brows lifted. "You brought your son?" Her tone wasn't rude, but it caught him off guard. Daniel swallowed hard. "Yes, I didn't have anyone to leave him with tonight. He's..." Before he could finish, she cut in. Not cruelly, but curiously. "Why did you bring your paralyzed son here?" The cafe went silent around them. The words hit Daniel like a slap. Not because she said them, but because she said them so bluntly. Noah shifted in his chair, confused but silent. Daniel's throat tightened as he tried to form words. "Because," he finally said, voice steady but low, "he's part of me. And if someone wants to know me, they should know him too." The woman blinked, her expression softening. "I see," she murmured, her gaze lingering on Noah longer than expected. Then, instead of walking away like Daniel feared, she slowly sat down. The evening unfolded awkwardly at first. Daniel was cautious, answering her polite questions, while Noah fidgeted with his toy car. Her name was Claire. An architect, successful, calm, and far too poised for a man like him, Daniel thought. He worked 2 jobs, a mechanic by day and a delivery driver by night, since the accident that took his wife 3 years ago and left Noah unable to walk. Claire asked gently, "Do you always bring Noah to your dates?" Daniel chuckled faintly. "You're assuming I have a lot of dates." That made her smile. "Maybe you should." He didn't know it, but something about his honesty disarmed her. Claire had spent years surrounded by people who measured worth by success and status. Yet here sat a man who carried his world in a wheelchair beside him, and still managed to smile. When Noah accidentally knocked over his juice, Daniel jumped up, apologizing profusely. But Claire simply grabbed a napkin and helped clean it up. "It's okay," she said softly, ruffling Noah's hair. "Accidents happen." For the first time that evening, Daniel saw warmth behind her polished demeanor. As the night ended, Daniel stood, ready to say goodbye. "Thank you for not walking out," he said honestly. Claire hesitated before replying, "Maybe next time don't assume I would." "Next time?" The words echoed in his chest all night. Weeks passed. Claire and Daniel began to meet again, sometimes at the park, sometimes at small cafes. Noah adored her. He'd laugh when she told him stories about her office, calling her Miss Architect. Claire would often bring little gifts, puzzles, model sets, anything to make the boy smile. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that she was out of his league. One afternoon, while fixing a car, he overheard 2 coworkers whispering. One of them had recognized Claire from a magazine. "She's not just an architect, dude," one said. "She's the CEO of her own firm. It's worth millions." The wrench in Daniel's hand slipped, clattering to the floor. CEO? That evening, he couldn't look at her the same way. When she called to ask if he and Noah wanted to join her for dinner, he refused. "You don't have to do this, Claire," he said over the phone. "We're from different worlds." She sounded hurt. "What do you mean?" You're successful, Rich. I'm just a mechanic with a son who..." "Don't finish that sentence," she interrupted sharply. "Don't you ever make Noah sound like a burden?" "Not to me." He fell silent. Then softly she said, "You see a line between us, Daniel?" "I don't." He didn't know what to say. All he could do was hang up. Not out of anger, but fear. A week later, Noah fell ill. His condition had weakened his immunity, and the doctors recommended an expensive treatment to strengthen his spine and nerves, something Daniel could never afford. He sold his old car, picked up extra shifts, and still came up short. One night, after hours of work, Daniel sat beside Noah's bed and whispered, "I'm sorry, buddy. Daddy's trying." His eyes welled up, exhaustion creeping through his bones. The next morning, there was a knock on the door. He opened it to find Claire standing there, holding a white envelope. "I heard about Noah," she said softly. He stiffened. "Who told you? One of your coworkers?" He was worried. Daniel shook his head. "I don't need your pity, Claire." Her expression hardened. "It's not pity. It's love," he froze. She took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "I lost my brother when I was your son's age. He was paralyzed too. My parents spent everything trying to help him, but the world wasn't kind to them. I promised myself that if I ever had the means, I'd never turn my back on someone who reminded me of him." Daniel looked down, tears forming. "You don't have to save us." "I'm not saving you," she whispered. "I'm just, walking beside you." Then she placed the envelope in his hand and left. Inside was the full payment for Noah's treatment. Months later, Noah's progress astonished the doctors. The boy could now stand for short moments with assistance, something they once said was impossible. Daniel watched as Noah took a few shaky steps toward Claire during one of their therapy sessions. "Look, Daddy," he cried. "I'm walking to Miss Architect." Daniel's heart swelled. Claire knelt down, tears in her eyes. "Yes, you are, my little hero." That night, after everyone left, Daniel sat on the hospital bench beside her. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. She smiled faintly. "You already did. When you didn't give up?" He turned to her, voice low. "I was afraid you'd see us as charity." "I see you as family," she said simply. He stared at her, speechless, and then, for the first time in years, Daniel allowed himself to hope, not just for his son's future, but for his own. When they left the hospital months later, Noah running, actually running, down the hallway, Daniel laughed until tears fell. Claire stood beside him, watching with quiet joy. "Why did you bring your paralyzed son here?" she had once asked. Now, as Noah twirled in the sunlight outside, Daniel whispered with a smile, "Because he's my reason for everything." Claire slipped her hand into his. "And now he's mine too." The world didn't need perfection. It needed love that stayed, even when life broke you. And that was exactly what they found in each other. A love that healed.